So now we know how an element looks like. So let's start working a little bit on the pieces that an HTML document needs, okay? I'm gonna keep this element here, but I'm gonna move it down a little, and I'm gonna make this a little bit better, or a little bit bigger. These two here too. So the first part, or the first line in any HTML document, it has to be the doctype declaration. The doctype declaration tells the browser, hey, this is the kind of HTML, or this is the version of the HTML that I'm sending to you, or this is the HTML type or version that you are receiving. So in this case, because the book and the entire semester we're going to be working with HTML5, which is the latest version, that's the type of declaration that we're going to do. So you start again with the brackets, and then you do in capital letters, you do doc type, and actually here I forgot the exclamation sign. So you have to have an exclamation sign when you do the doc type, and then lowercase HTML. So now the browser knows, okay, I'm loading an HTML5 document. And why it's important? Because there are some tags that they are retired from HTML5. So the browser will know, hey, this is an HTML5, so if you put an element that is basically retired, I'm not gonna render it. So the second part of an HTML document is the HTML tree level, or the root element. So basically we do HTML, and you will notice that brackets again is gonna complete my element. So I'm going to just hit enter a couple of times, and now I can start adding more elements. I'm going to start, so basically after an HTML element, or within the HTML element, we have to have two more elements. The first one is the head element, and the second one is the body element. Now notice that I indented the head and the body element. Why? Because this is a tree file. Basically all HTML documents should look like a tree. So when an element descends from another element, we have to indent it. And this is more for a look rather than an actual how the file works. I can have everything in one line and the document is gonna render just fine. But if we wanna really have a really clean and easy to read document, it's easier if we just indent elements that descend from other elements. So again, in this case, the head element and the body element are descending from the HTML element, okay? So let's focus a little bit on the head element. The head element is basically a placeholder for elements or information that we're gonna pass to the browser. So here is where we're gonna put that information that we wanna pass to the browser, that it's not gonna be displayed necessarily to the user. Things that we put here, for example, our CSS scripts, and we're gonna learn in a couple of weeks how to do that. JavaScript files, metadata, for example, when we wanna make a window be, or a document be responsive, this is where we start that process. But again, we're gonna see that as we move through the semester. What is the most important element that we're gonna add right now that is required by specifications of HTML is a title element. Each HTML document has to have a title, because a title is displayed on the browser or in this case a tab. So if you take a look here, at this point this document doesn't have a title. So if I go here to the head element, and then I type or create an element called title, and I put something like my first website, you will notice if I save that and then come to the browser window and refresh, that changed to my first website. Again, that's kind of the information that we are passing from the document to the browser. So those are the things that we put in the head element. Okay, let's talk about a little bit the body element. The body element will display all the information or all the elements that we actually display to the user. Everything that we want the user to see: text, audio, videos, images, all those things will need to be placed within the body element. So in this case, we're going to create a little bit of space. We're going to take this H1 element, we're going to cut it and put it within this element. We're going to save it, refresh, and here you have your H1 element. Now, again, notice the indentation between the head element. So what is the element that is descending from the head element is the title. What is the element that is descending from the from the body element is the H1. So you see I'm start indenting those elements as I'm putting them inside other elements. Okay. Let's create another element. So we can go here and create another line, and we're going to create another element called the paragraph element. So, and what the paragraph element does, as you can guess, holds paragraphs. So basically text. Okay. So I'm going to type, this is my first website. This is so cool. So save that, and you can see as I'm typing things also are being added to, or they are being displayed in the browser. So at this point, we have, I want to make this a little bit smaller, just for a bit. So as you can see, we have just add elements, the H1 and the P element. These elements are called also, or as known as, block elements. Why? Because they use a block on the website or on the on the document. So for example, if you can see, if I click on H1, on the left, you can see there is a block. It has a margin top, a margin button, but the paragraph element doesn't move, it stays where it is. If I click on it, again, it has a margin top and margin button, but my paragraph element doesn't really move or use space from the header element. So again, those are called block elements.